You're exploring the question of whether you should start a nonprofit organization. It's likely that you've come across a challenge in your community that you want to solve, and it's not a business problem. It's not an issue that you're trying to create a product or service to solve, but a social issue with a charitable purpose. And you want to do something about it. You want to create change. And so considering getting a group of people together, building a board of directors, and finding funding is a potential route that you can go to solve the issue that you're thinking about. However, starting a nonprofit organization is one of several routes you can take to create change. Today, I'm going to help you explore some questions to ask as you think about whether starting a nonprofit is the right path for you. My name is Sarah Marshall. I am the founder of Profound Hope Industries. Profound Hope Industries works with mission-based organizations to help them create social change within their own context. As you think about starting a nonprofit organization, keep in mind that 1.58 million 501c3 organizations established for religious, charitable, or social welfare purposes reported to the IRS in 2023. That means there are a lot of organizations doing work or forming to do work already. Some are well established, some have very few resources and do occasional inconsistent work around an issue. That doesn't even include the additional 400,000 organizations with a social purpose with other types of 501c status. So before you think about adding to that number, here are some questions to ask to determine whether you're prepared to start a nonprofit to solve the challenge you hope to address. The first three questions, it's a three, revolve around awareness. How aware you are of the issue, how much you know about the problem you're trying to solve. The first question to ask yourself is, who else is working on this problem? Who else in the community, who else in my circle, who else in the world is working to address this issue? This is your network of stakeholders, partners, and peers. The second question is, how is my solution different? As you determine who else is working on the issue, you'll see ways that people are approaching the issue. And as you ask yourself who's doing the work, consider how you're considering doing it differently. What solution will you present that will be different than it's already out there? The third question to ask is, what relationships do I have other than myself who care about this issue? And maybe many people, but in some cases, there are situations where people are engaged in an issue because it suddenly affected them personally. To give you a concrete example, I'm part of the rare disease community. There are many people in this world who are receiving new rare disease diagnoses. So they're new to the issue. And when you're new to something, you may not already be aware of the work that has been done before you. It's important to find out other perspectives beyond just your own around the challenges, the opportunities, the diverse solutions, etc. Be aware of what's happening in the space before you consider thinking of starting a new organization. The second three questions are around relationships, around the interpersonal networks that you already have to leverage. The first question around relationship to ask yourself is, do I have influence in an institution already? This could be a large organization like a corporation. It could be within a government. It could be within a small business that has a place in the community. And in those cases, if you have influence, there might be opportunity to influence the situation through innovation within an organization you're already part of. The second question around relationships to ask yourself is, can I volunteer with an existing organization that's doing the work? This organization is established already, has some funding sources, has a strategic plan, and you can come in and provide volunteer experience all the way to potentially serving on the board of directors. A lot of nonprofit organizations need qualified volunteers with commitment and strong experience to come alongside them and help them do the work. The third question to ask yourself is, do I have a community or network that I can leverage around this issue on a short-term basis. Maybe you can organize a group of people to raise funds to give to an established organization, or a task force to do a day-long or month-long project that will begin to bring resources to the issue that you're trying to solve without going through the process of setting up a legal structure. After you ask those 6 questions and still feel like you want to start a nonprofit organization to solve the issue, there are 2 additional questions to ask yourself as you think about the process. And those 2 questions have to do with the resources available to you to solve the issue. The first question to ask is, do I have time? One thing to keep in mind is that the process of applying for a 501c3 in itself can be lengthy. It can take the IRS up to 1 year to approve new 501c3 status. And even after your organization receives that, many funders typically want to see 2 years of financial history before they'll fund you independently without a fiscal sponsor. You're going to need to dedicate some time to getting this organization off the ground independently. So you need to consider this as something you want to do for the long term. You want to make sure you have the commitment to be in this work to balance out the time that it takes to establish the organization. And then the second question to ask is there a clear funding source to support the continuation of this work as we begin to establish a nonprofit? And that funding does not necessarily have to be money, but there have to be resources behind the organization to get it off the ground. For example, you can run a very effective volunteer-led organization if that's the expectation. But even in that case, you need volunteer time to put in to that work. You may need donations from a corporation. You may need an initial funder, but you'll need to have resources to continue the work. So identifying those resources before you get started is an important step. Starting a nonprofit organization is just like any other type of startup. It's going to take some time to build visibility, to gain traction, to prove your concepts, and to get going. That's not to say you should not start a nonprofit organization, but if you go through these questions, you'll have done some strong due diligence to make sure that you're really in a position to start a nonprofit that will be sustainable for the long term. If you or your organization are looking for support in creating social change, whether that is through leveraging your existing organization or whether it's through creating a new organization, Profound Hope Industries is able to help you. Our link is in our bio. Feel free to connect with us to schedule a call. Also, please like and subscribe so we can keep creating more content to help you create change in your community.